Do you know how World War I and World War II compare and why they started? Below is a structured, comprehensive comparison. Short introductions to each war, the main reasons they began, 30 key facts about each, the top 5 outcomes for each war, a 5-question quiz with answers, what the world gained and lost after both wars, and practical precautions to avoid a third world war. Number 1. Quick introductions. World War I, WWI, time frame, 1914 to 1918. Main theaters, Europe, Western and Eastern fronts, colonies, seas. Combatants, Allied powers, e.g. France, Britain, Russia, later the US, Italy among others, versus Central powers, Germany, Austro-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, Bulgaria. Nature, trench warfare, industrial-scale casualties, stalemate on Western Front. World War II, time frame 1939 to 1945. Main theaters, Europe, Pacific, North Africa, East Asia, and global naval aerial campaigns. Combatants, allies, e.g. UK, USSR, USA, China, France, Free, and others, versus Axis, Germany, Italy, Japan. Nature, total war, massive mobilization of civilians and economies, genocides, Holocaust, use of strategic bombing and atomic weapons. Number 2. Why? What were the reasons to start? WI, main causes summary. 1. Militarism, arms race, Espen Germany versus Britain. 2. Alliances, rigid alliance systems, Triple Entente versus Triple Alliance, turned localized conflicts into wider war. 3. Imperialism, colonial rivalries and competition for markets and territory. 4. Nationalism, ethnic tensions, Balkans, Austro-Hungarian Empire, and nationalistic fervor. 5. The immediate trigger, assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austro-Hungary, Sarajevo, 28th of June 1914, followed by cascading ultimatums and mobilizations. WOI 2. Main causes, summary. 1. Treaty of Versailles resentment, German humiliation, reparations, and economic pain after WWI. 2. Economic instability, Great Depression fueling extremist politics. 3. Rise of totalitarian regimes, Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, Imperial Japan pursuing expansion. 4. Expansionist aggression, Germany's invasions in Europe, Japan in East Asia, Italy and Africa. 5. Failure of appeasement, Western democracies' concessions, e.g. Munich 1938, emboldened aggressors. 6. Immediate trigger, Germany's invasion of Poland, 1st of September 1939, prompted Britain and France to declare war. Number 3. Top 30 facts about World War I, concise. 1. Official dates, 28th of July 1914 to 11th of November 1918. 2. Estimated military and civilian deaths to 16 to 20 million, varied estimates. Trench warfare dominated Western Front, France, Belgium. 4. New technologies, machine guns, tanks, first used 1916, poison gas, heavy artillery, aircraft reconnaissance. 5. Naval war included U-boat, submarine campaigns by Germany. 6. Total war, economies and societies mobilized for long-term conflict. 7. Russian Revolution, 1917, led Russia to exit the war, Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, 1918. 8. U.S. entered war in April 1917. American expeditionary forces helped tip balance. 9. Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires collapsed by war's end. 10. Armenian genocide, 1915 to 1917, occurred in Ottoman territories, mass killings and deportations. 11. The war saw extensive use of chemical weapons, chlorine, mustard gas. 12. Battle of the Somme, 1916, and Verdun, 1916, were among the bloodiest battles. 13. Many colonies contributed troops and resources, e.g. India, Africa. 14. War bonds and rationing became common on the home fronts. 15. Women entered factories and roles previously reserved for men, accelerating social changes. 16. Spanish influenza pandemic, 1918 to 1919, overlapped with war and killed millions. 17. Armistice signed 11th of Nov 1918, 11th hour, 11th day, 11th month. 18. Treaty of Versailles, 1919, formally ended the war with harsh terms for Germany. 19. League of Nations created 1919 to prevent future wars, but US never joined. 20. War introduced coordinated propaganda and censorship campaigns. 21. War pensions and veteran care became major post-war issues. 22. Huge physical destruction in parts of Europe. Farms, towns, and infrastructure ruined. 23. Shell shock, early understanding of PTSD recognized among veterans. 24. Technological and medical advances, e.g. blood transfusion techniques, accelerated. 25. Borders redrawn in Europe and the Middle East, Sykes-Picot, new nation-states. 26. Rise of revolutionary sentiment. Bolsheviks in Russia inspired leftist movements elsewhere. 27. Economic cost. Enormous debts and reparations destabilized post-war economies. 28. Collapse of old order. Monarchies in Germany, Russia, Austro-Hungary toppled or weakened. 29. Seeds for World War II. Unresolved grievances, punitive reparations, and nationalist resentments. 30. Remembrance rituals. Soldier memorials, Armistice Day, Remembrance Day began post-war. Number 4. Top 30 facts about World War II. Concise. 1. Military and civilian casualties, tens of millions. 7. Pearl Harbor attack, 7th of Deccan 1941, brought the USA fully into the war against Japan and Germany. 8. D-Day, 6th of June 1944, Allied invasion of Normandy, pivotal in liberating Western Europe. 9. Development and first use of atomic bombs, Hiroshima 6th, Aug 1945, Nagasaki 9th, Aug 1945. 10. Total war, full mobilization of economies and civilians, home fronts targeted by strategic bombings and refugee crises across Europe and Asia. 12. Nuremberg trials, post-war, prosecuted major Nazi leaders for war crimes. 13. Japanese wartime atrocities, e.g. Nanjing Massacre and forced labor occurred. 14. War accelerated decolonization, European powers weakened, colonies sought independence. 15. United Nations, UN, established in 1945 to replace the League of Nations. 16. The Bretton Woods System, 1944, created IMF and World Bank for post-war economic order. 17. The war saw massive advances in radar, jet engines, rocketry, and computers, e.g. code breaking. 18. Rationing and war economies were common. Women again filled essential roles, e.g. Rosie the Riveter. 19. Strategic bombing campaigns, e.g. Dresden, Tokyo, caused huge civilian casualties and destruction. 20. The Eastern Front, Stalingrad, Kursk, involved colossal armored and infantry battles and decisive Soviet victories. 21. Holocaust and other genocides spurred later human rights frameworks, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948. 22. Post-war geopolitics, emergence of USA and USSR as superpowers and start of the Cold War. 23. Massive reconstruction efforts, Marshall Plan in Europe, rebuilt economies, and curbed communist influence. 24. Germany divided into occupation zones, later Federal Republic, West and German Democratic Republic East. 25. Japan occupied and democratized under U.S. oversight, new constitution, economic recovery. 26. Technological leap, nuclear age, and beginning of modern military-industrial complex. 27. Civilian casualties and Holocaust left deep moral reckonings and created refugee and survivor communities. 28. War crimes recognition led to new international law norms and human rights institutions. 29. Long-term demographic impacts, lost generation and disrupted family structures. 30. Cultural memory, films, literature, museums, and remembrance shaped global memory of war. Number 5. Top 5 outcomes of WWI. 1. Political map redrawn, collapse of empires, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, Russian, German, and creation of new states in Europe and the Middle East. 2. Treaty of Versailles and grievances, harsh terms on Germany sowed resentment and economic distress. 3. League of Nations formed, an early multilateral institution intended to prevent war, but with limited enforceability. 4. Social change, women's roles expanded, many countries extended suffrage, partial social progress. 5. Economic disruption and instability, massive debts, reparations, and post-war inflation contributed to political instability in many countries. Number 6. Top 5 outcomes of WWII II. 1. Bipolar world and Cold War. USA and USSR emerged as superpowers. Ideological rivalry dominated global politics. 2. United Nations created, a stronger international organization aimed at collective security and diplomacy. 3. Decolonization accelerated. European colonial empires weakened. Many colonies achieved independence in following decades. 4. Economic reconstruction and institutions. Marshall Plan aided Western Europe. IMF and World Bank shaped global economic recovery and order. 5. Human rights and legal frameworks. Nuremberg trials, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and new norms against genocide and crimes against humanity. Number 7. What the world got after 2 world wars. Big picture summary. Stronger international institutions, UN, IMF, World Bank, and a greater emphasis on diplomacy. Legal and moral frameworks against genocide, war crimes, foundations of international human rights law. Geopolitical realignment, end of many colonial empires, start of Cold War rivalry, and new alliances, NATO, Warsaw Pact. Technological and social change, Accelerated industrial and scientific progress, nuclear energy, aviation, medicine, and sweeping social shifts, women in the workforce, welfare states. Economic integration, steps toward economic cooperation and reconstruction, Marshall Plan, Bretton Woods. A legacy of trauma, huge loss of life, cultural and demographic changes, refugee crises, and collective memory shaping art, politics, and education. A clearer recognition of the need for preventive diplomacy, though not always heeded. Number 8, top 5 precautions to avoid a third world war, practical policy level and societal measures. 1. Strengthen multilateral institutions and enforce international law. Ensure institutions, UN, ICJ, regional bodies, have clearer, enforceable dispute resolution mechanisms and rapid diplomatic channels before conflicts escalate. 2. Arms control, transparency, and non-proliferation. Renew and strengthen arms control agreements, nuclear, conventional. Transparency in military activities reduces misperception and inadvertent escalation. 3. Economic interdependence and resilient supply chains. Encourage trade ties and economic integration. Diversify critical supply chains to reduce incentives for coercive geopolitics based on access to resources. 4. Early warning diplomacy and conflict prevention mechanisms. Invest in mediation, preventive diplomacy, sanctions calibrated to deter aggression, conflict early warning systems, and funding for peace building. 5. Civic education, cross-cultural exchange, and democratic resilience. Promote media literacy, cross-cultural contact, and political institutions that reduce internal radicalization and manipulation. Build resilience against misinformation that can inflame nationalism. Additional points. Maintain open channels of military-to-military communication, treaties for cyber warfare norms, climate diplomacy, since resource stress can drive conflict, and support for global development to reduce grievances. Number 9. Top 5 quiz with answers. 1. Q. In which year did World War I begin? A. 1914. 2. Which event is considered the immediate trigger for the start of WWI? Assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, 28 June 1914. 3. Which country's invasion of Poland started with 2 in Europe? A. Germany, 1 September 1939. 4. Name 2 major outcomes of World War II that reshaped global institutions. A. Creation of the United Nations, emergence of the USA and USSR as superpowers, start of the Cold War. Also acceptable, Bretton Woods institutions, decolonization. 5. Which wartime atrocities during World War II prompted the Nuremberg trials? A. Nazi war crimes, including the Holocaust and crimes against humanity. Number 10. Quick comparison table, very brief, scale 2. WWI had far greater casualties and global reach. Nature of combat, WI static trench warfare, World War II mobile mechanized warfare, combined arms global theaters. Civilian impact, both large, featured deliberate civilian targeting, bombing campaigns, genocides, and atomic weapons. Aftermath, WI led to unstable peace and conditions for World War II. World War II led to institutional framework, UN, and Cold War bipolarity. Technological leap, both wars advanced tech. World War II led directly to nuclear age and rapid aerospace communication advances. Number 11, short suggested reading watch list. If you want sources next, I can fetch recent authoritative links. If you'd like, I can fetch and cite authoritative sources, encyclopedias, academic texts, museum resources, and produce a printable one-page summary or a slide deck. Want me to pull primary source references and create a downloadable PDF or slides? If yes, I'll fetch up-to-date sources and produce